only thing that matters, it really isn't the gear. I really don't think people are doing these for gear. At most, you're doing them for alts because you really want to pursue this as many times as possible to either max out how many like currency you're getting, or for collector's bounty, how many chances you're getting, for dastardly duos to like maybe try it out with a different character. But in reality, the everything else is superfluous. All that people care about, and this is kind of the way Blizzard has keyed it, is to make you care specifically about the limited time items. What is up, adventurers, and welcome to a brand new ShawnSetGO video. In today's video, we're going to be talking about the issues with FOMO and specifically collector's bounty. No, I'm just messing, but in truth, I mean, collector's bounty, I think the one argument that you could have against it possibly is, are those FOMO items, are the items that we have now, is their effect effectively dwindling as time goes on? Because Blizzard doesn't necessarily respect those high tier items that, you know, you show off in the game, because eventually you can just get it for free or easily later down the line. So let's look at some of these posts that are saying something like this. The first one says, I'm not understanding the logic between bringing some time limited things back and keeping the other time limited things forever locked away, especially when both are from ahead of the curve achievement. Where is the line and the consistency? So this person says basically, I'm bringing back of these weapon skins is a bit contentious. Some people argue that is a marker that proves you were playing the game at a certain time. This is specifically talking about the Mage Tower appearances. So the Mage Tower appearances won't be available in the Legion Remix. It says basically, as we've explored full list of rewards that players can earn when Legion was current in content, we've determined that some fit the description above and will not be obtainable in Legion Remix, Mage Tower appearances, artifact weapon appearances, seasonal PvP gear. And so bringing back some of them would diminish that. Other would argue that acquiring them took skill and dedication, that bringing the Mage Tower artifact appearances back wouldn't be fair because the modern game is completely different today and wouldn't represent the same level of effort needed to acquire them as they did back then. On the other side, I've seen it's been almost a decade, as well as the Mage Tower weapon appearances themselves became much easier over the course of the expansion. Being them in 7.3.5 meant something different in 7.2. There are arguments for both sides. What are interested me the most about Blizzard's post is why here wasn't just the Mage Tower news, but the fact they are bringing back some previously time limited items. So like, where does the line go? Like, maybe as far as things that because it belongs to this, you do this, or is it to like, how do we satisfy the core audience? I think personally what they probably do is they go, okay, which of these is a limited item held by the most of people, and they go, okay, those, because those are the most important because the most people got them during that time frame, I suppose. I don't think there's it's probably just a numerical value. I don't think there's that's just giving them a lot of credit, to be honest. I don't truly think that there's a lot of logic behind it. They probably just cherry pick it. But let's look at some of the comments here. Comment says there is no consistency, there's no line, there never has been. They are historically inconsistent, and it is only consistency that exists on the topic. I just don't understand in general. I have the Siege of Orgrimmar mount, and I've just been always of the opinion that as long as it's something you actually unlock, it's not just on the shop or something, who cares? Even as a trader's post, I wouldn't care. Like if it was 11 years ago and I ran Siege of Orgrimmar, I'd still have my achievements. Know how many times in 11 or 12 years that I even have the opportunity to show it off as if it mattered, 0. And I think that's one of the core issues right now with a lot of these FOMO items, is that you can't really, for example, you can't necessarily always have these things and show them off just on a superficial level. Mounts these days, even like at most, only the current season rare mount matters. And beyond that, it doesn't really. And the thing is, like, what if you're not mounted all the time? It's really hard to present those things in a way where it's like it actually matters. And for the most part, I don't think housing is necessarily going to define that in a more stronger way, because what are they going to do? Like, if you earned it now based on a certain date that they're going to do certain things, I think that would cause more uproar than it would fix things. I think that for the most part, even if you're sitting on this island of, I have it at this date, so it matters, like I know that it matters to me, I think nobody's gonna be looking at depth at achievements in that direction just on a superficial level. And I think that's probably a core issue with right now with itemization in WoW, collecting them out in WoW right now, is that for the most part, I think that these items are only like these highly held glorified items for so long, and then like for a short amount of time, and then after that it's just kind of like, who cares? Like, I mean, who cares anymore? So I think we're kind of we're getting upset over things like what we get and don't get from the next set, but in reality, I don't think these things have mattered for a long time. I think that for the most part, people just get mad from the FOMO more than anything else. And in mentioning that, let's talk a little bit more FOMO with this one. It says, wow, time-sensitive demands burnout. Is it just me? So I'll start. I'll say fully recognize that nobody cares. Moreover, I can see the game is actually a great state in many respects. So there's a lot of fun to be had, a healthy dynamic in the game. That said, I'm saddened to be discontinuing my sub and leaving the game at a time when I'd otherwise be happy to keep playing. When I log on, there are things that I feel are this doomsday clock of expiration is ticking on. Dastardly duos. Get your turtle and your toys, Mogs, or miss out on indefinitely, maybe forever. Finish unlocking the 1800 rating Elite X Mogs, PvP mount, weapon enchant, etc., or miss out forever. 3K rating, miss on the mount. Do horrific visions, and then keep doing PvP, already maxed out PvP tunes to round out the vicious saddle progress, or have it reset in 2 weeks. Run endless old legacy content for bonus collectors bounty. Leave level of Pandaren and Classic. Greedy Emissary, both time gated loosely and time sensitive. Farm goblins ad nauseum before they disappear indefinitely. So I think this is a strong point. There's these constant things that otherwise, for the most part, the only thing that matters, it really isn't the gear. I really don't think people are doing these for gear. At most, you're doing them for alts because you really want to pursue this as many times as possible to either max out how many like currency you're getting, or for collector's bounty, how many chances you're getting, for dastardly duos to like maybe try it out with a different character. But in reality, the everything else is superfluous. All that people care about, and this is kind of the way Blizzard has keyed it, is to make you care specifically about the limited time items. And so let's look at some of the comments. It says, I had to switch over to my checklist mentality of playing where things to do in the game felt like a to-do list rather than avenues for gameplay. I had to start thinking of all rewards I earn as a big pile rather than a checklist I'm missing out on, staying focused more on the things I'm earning and not the things I'm not earning. I'll never complete the game being about adding to the pile rather than chasing a checklist of things to do. Yeah, and that's kind of unfortunate, right? That the whole game to people has become this thing of let me drag and hoard this pile of just junk, none of which very matters a lot. And it really is just about quantity over quality. And that's been a big issue in the game. As we add more and more content, as we demand more and more from these events, we throw a lot of, we forget about the fodder that's just thrown into these. Horrific Visions, it was okay event. Dastardly Duos was, to me, a big flop. Even though Greedy Emissary is decent for the X Mogs, I mean, it really isn't a bad event overall. I think at the same time, for every decent event where everyone's collecting it, everyone can be part of it, so you kind of naturally get the things that are in it. There's also 2 or 3 other events that you're not doing that are flops, but you still got to play these bad events in order to get these items. And so that's why these things become just adding to the pile, because these events that are being released just to kind of fill the space, even if you hate it, you have to stop what you're currently doing to go do that. I haven't worked on my Mythic Plus rating or Mythic Plus at all since the Collector's Bounty event, because I am enjoying it. But overall, it's like, well, what do I have more time for? Is it one thing or trying a bunch of things? And I think a lot of people, as much as we love to say that people min-max the fun out of the games, I think people like to min-max how much they're also enjoying it from the game. And if you're just kind of doing one thing and you're enjoying it, but you're missing out on 10 other things, it kind of it creates this dread with playing the game. And I think that's kind of unfortunate with how it goes. And just kind of staying in that vein of thought, says, do you think the Blizz will do the Collector's Bounty event ever again? Definitely getting some FOMO since I can't spend as much time as I want farming. Like so many others, I spent years and countless hours farming mounts. It would be great to know if this is something we might see again, just knowing that it would take takes off some of the pressure. Honestly, I can imagine him doing another event like this again. I think that it has been a success. But with that being said, what was the intent with something like this? I think that Blizzard knows that they have a plethora of old content that is explored by a portion of the game population, but there's a lot of people that aren't interested in transmogs or mount collection. They are simply interested in the end game and the challenges that come with that. Now, there are challenges with getting transmog and with getting collector's bounty. I've learned about speed sets and I've learned about like the skips and stuff like that. There's a lot to know. There's a specific knowledge to know about it. If I could create any events in the game, it would be like, how much can people speed run this and time it? Like, I would love to see this on a speed run chart, because it's insane how quickly people run through these. Also, like, how much people have been grinding this without a buff. That to me is mind blowing. And so if I think about, and if I give Blizzard a lot of credit about what these events have been about, truly, I think it's because putting more events into the game where you have to invest into instanced content. To me, Dastardly Duo's Horrific Visions is instanced content. You jump into, it's not just a world event that you just do occasionally or weekly or something like that. You do instanced runs. Like, I mean, you can't just kind of do it with everything else. You're doing that and that only. To me, Collector's Bounty is a way of getting people, one, invested into that content if they weren't previously. Like, hey, if you didn't like doing it, now here's a stronger chance to, you can at least get something from, you know, to get, like, kind of give everybody like a little taste of it. Or it's a way, it's a way to get the players invested into stuff that's other instance content without you realizing. Because when you're doing Collector's Bounty stuff, you're not doing anything else in the game. And if you get invested into it, you might realize, oh man, I need to get more alts. Like, hey, like I need to get a speed set. Hey, I need to work on my, like, Heart of Azeroth. Why am I doing all this stuff? And you realize it's kind of like it's to kind of keep people staying on that tread, on the hamster wheel, at least until season 3. And I think that's kind of what's happening here. And I think in that you could say that I don't care. Like that's fine with me. You know, like, I'm okay with that. But to me, the biggest complaints that I see as somebody who frequents these spaces and these forums is that people are going, I'm tired of just being on the hamster wheel. I want to enjoy the expansion for what the expansion provided. What was the War Within about again? And it was like, it's like, okay, well, it's coming. It's gonna be here soon. Okay. We're gonna see it. Okay. We're gonna see the big purpose. And then we got to go back and we like, wait, wasn't this about like Dalaran blowing up and like the Earthen or something like that? And so it's like, it's all kind of just like messed up. And I think that we're kind of jumping from one event to the next, and we're honestly being pulled in a lot of directions as a player base. And so I wanted to close this with one more, and this one says, I think I am hitting some sort of special moment fatigue of out of WoW and FOMO items, realizing that I just don't care about buying Mountain Dew or whatever the WoW motorcycle is. I can't be bothered to lurk in a stream 4 hours for pets. I enjoy WoW, but I just can't be bothered for out of WoW activity stuff anymore. Recently, I've noticed the mindset spread to FOMO, one time only, seasonal, whatever new other content you imply. You don't do something now, you're going to miss out. And honestly, it's kind of freeing. It feels nice to just log in, just do whatever I want at my pace. I think this overhyping of limited availability items is backfiring for players like me. For example, I would probably grind arenas for some of the older elite PvP sets, but I immediately feel repulsed by the content when the availability time limit is introduced and when what is only available. Lastly, I try not to complain without at least offering solutions, so I recommend some sort of elite legacy currency. For example, if you get access to PvP gear at 2500 rating, why not make every game 1 at that rating, higher rewards? You get 1 elite coin. That way you can buy previous season's elite pieces. And I think this goes back, me bringing this back to the original post, which said basically there's 2 groups of people. I think there's people who go, no, because I earned that wallow time where it was happening, I should be able to have and show that off. Outside of it, you shouldn't. And I think that's a reasonable standpoint. And then there's also another group of people that goes, hey, I think this is going to cause a lot of burnout with players. So instead of avoiding that, let's just create a system to where they're not just getting it for free, but they're getting it through means of participating maybe just more than normal. Maybe somebody who wasn't trying to do that could participate at a lower level. But if you're trying to get that and the extra gear, then the extra transmogs, mounts, whatever, then you have to do to this level. Does that diminish the quality? I don't know necessarily. If I were to say what is my like my personal solution, kind of none of these. I think that the solution to this is when it comes to events that are FOMO, limited time type of things, I think they need to be in a sense of like similar to time walking, where they're on a rotation, where they will they will come back and they will what it means to do those events changes. So if you're doing a time walking thing, similar to time walking, you will get that particular week's time walking items. If you're doing Mage Tower, it needs to be adapted. If you're doing a holiday event and it needs to be adapted to the current year, if you're going to update it, you know, don't just do require people or say that people are only going to get this version. If you're going to give people things and the new things, offer the old things, but require it at the newer level. You know, it to me, as long as the challenge is being met at the current level, then challenging content isn't necessarily the reason. If it isn't necessarily the reason that I want people to not have things, like as long as you're achieving the challenge similar in merits, then you should have the thing. But when it comes to things of, let's say, if you have things of legendary status and beyond, yeah, sure. You know, like I think that it's totally fine that there's still maybe some effort being put into there. The only thing that and I like that because Blizzard's done this a few places where they make it to where it's easier to access, where you don't have to do like attunements or something like that. That I appreciate. I like those little changes that make things easier overall. Not saying that you can't farm those things in the original way. I'm not a fan of them cutting away content. Something that I've been doing is I've been leveling a level 30 like locked character in an attempt to do some of that old world content, and I noticed that a lot of the content has been like cut, sliced. You can't do it properly. Like I think it's Skulloments. Like Skulloments, you can do memory, but it's the higher item level gear, so it's like newer gear, so you can't really, like, it's not really the proper gear, say, to do something like Herald of the Titans. So you have to do stuff that's like BC, of course, but like you have to do, I'm trying to do specifically classic stuff because I want to get like some of the classic gear, but a lot of the stuff has been redone, or you can't access it, or you have to access it in some like offshoot type of way. That I'm not a fan of. I'm not a fan of cutting content in that fashion. If we're really cutting corners in that way, I think we just need to make it to where when you go up to that old world content, you can choose whether you're doing it for the current expansion or the previous expansion that it was released in. It's silly to me to be like, oh, let's just make this not accessible anymore. Like, why? Like, why? What's the purpose behind that? There's a lot of people who want to still access that type of content and don't want to do it in classic. So that exists in the world. But of course, let me know, what do you think is the way to solve these issues with FOMO? I don't think it's a single perspective, but I also don't think that this is just a player issue, like self-induced player issues. I think that there's a lot of things you could say are self-induced with player issues. There's a lot of player issues that are self-induced, but I don't think this is one of those things. I think this is one of those things that Blizzard has done to kind of keep us entertained and to create some form of retainability. But I think in a lot of ways, this is creating the burnout that they're trying to prevent. But of course, if you like this video, give it a like, subscribe to the page while you're at it, and of course, I'll catch y'all in the next one. Peace.